Hey Dude,
The 90s Called,
with Christine Taylor and David Lascher.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hey Dude, The 90s Called podcast. I'm David.
Hi, David. I'm Christine.
What's up,
Welcome
Christine?
back, everybody. Nice to see you, David.
Nice to see you,
I've gotten
too.
a lot of good feedback on our Q&A episode. How about you?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And we only got through 20 questions in
I
an
know.
hour, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think we answered a lot of questions. We got some therapy done as far as how that clip that we posted of, it
Talking
upset
about
you.
us?
Yeah,
I
Brad
know.
and Ted and all that
I know.
stuff.
Kelly commented too. I meant to text her, but Kelly's like, "What? I had no idea. I feel so bad." I was like, "It wasn't your fault." I have to call her about it because, no, it is funny because it was something I think I just, I felt very cavalier about not, letting on how much it bugged
ever
me.
mentioned that was annoying, and I would have been. I didn't even think about it till now, like until our episode. That would have really bugged the heck out of me.
Yeah, for sure. But it was that was a great question, actually. And I think, we will definitely do more and answer. We have everything that, we have all the questions from before still listed. So we will get to those. And if any more come in, we'll keep a list.
I think we should do, turn a sort of like investigative true crime aspect to our show. And we need to find Joe Torres.
Yes.
Why can't we just have a quick conversation with him?
Yes. Well, remember, and I don't want to, in case our guest is coming soon, but I'm looking because remember, I think I said on the episode, that we should get a statement from Lisa, our writer, who is the one who had gotten that information that he was, the friend of a family member and all of that. So Lisa sent us an email actually just saying, here's a concise Joe statement if you want it. And
wait, hold on. Is this new news?
No, this is, first of all, are you not getting the emails that Lisa is sending us?
We have a statement from Joe Torres?
No, it's not from Joe Torres.
Okay.
I said because I said I was repeating third-hand information, I didn't, I was giving my disclaimer that, Lisa heard from somebody who heard from somebody. So this is what Lisa sent me. She said, through a friend, I was put in contact with a cousin of Joe Torres who was very protective of Joe's privacy and described him as living off the grid. And that's what she got.
I need to talk to him. Not only I love the dude and I want to reminisce with him, but I want to know, how do you live in today's world off the grid?
Yeah.
That fascinates me.
It's good. We said it. It is classic Joe, and I would expect it no other way. The mystique, that is Joe. We will keep tracking this. We will. I feel like now we've sparked more interest too. So, but if he doesn't want to be found, he doesn't want to be found. If he wants to live off the grid, maybe he's like in Joshua Tree somewhere.
All right, we'll find him. Did Ben Stiller come up with a character?
Ben Stiller's laughing that you want him to do a character, and
what?
He's honored. I think he's honored that I think you. I don't even remember you saying this, but I think you called him the king of comedy. And so he feels he might be getting a big head about it, David. Thank you.
I'm the only one to say Ben Stiller's one of the greatest comedic actors.
No.
But he needs, if he would go back to his Ben Stiller show days. I mean, why doesn't he call Bob Odenkirk?
Listen,
come up with
we know
really...
they're capable of it. Yes. I told you, he heard it. He's taking it in, and let's see what he comes back with.
Yeah, if he called in with a character, it would be phenomenal. Our guest is here. You want to welcome him?
The one and only Mark McGrath. So exciting!
What's up, dude?
It's good to see you. You look great. I love your shirt.
Proper surfer Beach Boy attire.
I grew up in Newport Beach, California, so you can take the boy out of the beach, but can't take the beach out of the boy there, David.
Why would you want to? I mean, growing up at the beach must have been the greatest.
It wasn't too bad. The set of my kind of teen years and my formative years was like, it looked like Baywatch. You know, there was not a lot to complain about, you know, running on the beach. And I kind of hear that reflected in the music of Sugar Ray, you know, because the early 90s is really about grunge, you know, the real sort of, you know, it was kind of a dark period, stir your shoes type of thing. And, you know, growing up on the beach, that wasn't our reality. You know, we wanted to have fun and play music that uplifted us. And, you know, luckily we were able to do that.
I spoke to a friend of mine, Peter Malkin, who's been in the music business for a long time. And, you know, by the way, let me just say, anyone that I've told that we were interviewing you, it was like a unanimous excitement and like, wow, that's a great guess. How did I not think of that? So you are really
nostalgia and love and like exactly what you said, bringing that joy to like those memories of the 90s that we all had. Like you brought that, and so the same. We're so excited to have you.
Well loved, as is your work. But
well, thank you both. I want to say before I sorry to interrupt you, David, but that means a lot to me. Really, I appreciate you guys having me on your wonderful podcast. I've been watching it since I saw you guys on KTLA with Sam. Talking about, you know, there was a trailer for the podcast. I go, that's really cool. I wish they'd call me. And here we go. You know, I put it out in the universe. So thank you both. I appreciate the kind words.
Thank you for being here.
So happy to have you.
But Peter Malkin said to me he said, ask Mark if they started out as a much heavier band. Like you were talking about early 90s was grunge and like really hardcore stuff. But you guys pivoted at some point and became like the biggest pop music band in the world. But were you like more of a hard band?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we got to start in the late 80s. I mean, I'm dating myself. It'll be 35 years this July when we started the band. And back then we didn't really know how to play. I didn't really know how to sing. And some say I still don't, you know.
You can't play, you can't sing, but you want to go into music. Okay.
There you go. There you go. See,
and you have a degree from USC, right? I mean.
Fight on, man. Fight on.
Awesome.
I did go to USC, and the second question usually is, did you graduate? I go, yes, I did. I actually graduated in 1990. So, yeah, David, getting back to the original question, the band was a lot just more aggressive back in the day. It was kind of, we were younger. Bands that interested us then were like Guns N' Roses, Sex Pistols, Faster Pussycat. We were kind of raised on the early 80s Orange County punk rock scene as well. So a lot of that was in the DNA of the music. And music wasn't our job back then. We had day jobs to support our dream at night. Once we got signed to Atlantic Records in 94, not only did we get better as musicians, because it became our full-time job, we got better as songwriters as well. And that let us find chords like a D7th, an E7th, different chords that really like the Beatles chords, if you will. We got into harmony. So it really let us become better musicians and songwriters by taking up music full time. You know, I've always loved the Beastie Boys, but I love the Beach Boys and everything in between. So we kind of naturally started gravitating to bands that we loved growing up, but they were so, talent-wise, so far ahead of us that we started catching these chords and throwing them in songs and going, ooh, that sounds good. But we always maintained that aggressive early part too. You know, we have a song called Mean Machine that was the first single we ever released that we still play in our live show. So sometimes we rip wigs off going back when people are like, that doesn't sound like Every Morning You're Fly. And I'm like, welcome to the history of Sugar Ray. You know?
Exactly.
It's so cool that it happened organically and that you paid your dues and you put in the 10,000 hours, you know, the Malcolm Gladwell, how to master something. Mm-hmm. And rather than, you know, we interviewed Adam Duritz. He's like, our first demo had all our hit songs and that was it. But to have it happen and to become better and better and better, and then you hit, sounds like a great way to do it.
Well, we got lucky, David, because we were a product of something that was very sort of 80s and 90s, and that was artist development, which is not, it's not around anymore. Labels don't even really have A&R departments to like develop artists. They want artists fully formed and ready to go. Now, Counting Crows, I take my frosted tips off because they had their demo fully formed with all the hits on it. That makes me mad. Oh my God, dude.
It had Mr. Jones. It had Round Here. It had, their demo was.
But they're so talented. But getting back to like, you know, we were able, Atlantic Records was able to develop us. Our first record called Lemonade and Brownies was a miserable failure. It didn't really do anything in the States. Really? It made a little bit of noise a little bit of noise in Europe during that sort of the early rap rock Korn Deftones era, 94, 95. So we were kind of, hanging our hats on that thing, but without the talent, without the sort of direction. We had no idea what was happening. But luckily enough, we got on that. Then we got on Howard Stern in the mid-90s, and that really let the label go, we just got a couple $1 million worth of promotion in this band off the Howard Stern look. Let's let them make another second record. So we got lucky, David and Christine, that we were part of a development era, which doesn't really exist anymore. It's very 90s, if you will.
And yeah, I know. I remember that term A&R. I mean, you would just. I had a boyfriend in my 20s, and he was a blossoming musician, and it was always you would always hear about A&R, and like you said, it just doesn't exist anymore.
Absolutely.
When did you form the band? Like, were you guys all together from high school days, from just kicking around Newport Beach?
Yeah, pretty much. The band that became Sugar Ray was a band called the Tories at my high school in Corona Del Mar High School. And they were the cool band that played all the cool parties. All the parties I couldn't get into. But I knew all of them. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I said, you know what? If I become their roadie and carry their equipment, doesn't that mean I get into the parties?
Oh my God.
So I quickly discovered. Yeah, right. I mean,
you carried equipment for a high school band.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And so
no wonder you got into USC. Yeah. You had the smarts.
The hard worker.
So I ingratiated myself with the band that eventually became Sugar Ray. A couple of them. There was 3 guys in that band. They had a singer who was strictly wanted to do 60 songs. He didn't want to do anything after like 74. And the band wanted to do a little bit more. The drummer Stan and our guitar player Rodney wanted to do a little bit more and get a little more aggressive because Guns N' Roses and bands like that were happening. And they let me sing a back AC/DC song with them at a party once because the singer, again, refused to do that. He had altruistic visions of being a mod and a 60s like hippie dude, and he would not play Back in Black, which is so weird to me. So I said, I'll do it. Now, I sang Back in Black, and I did it with the band, and I don't necessarily think I did a good job, but I remember I did a flip into the pool at the end of the song, and that kind of resonated in their minds. And so about 6 months later, when the band eventually imploded, they said, Mark, do you want to give it a shot as a singer? I said, yeah, I'd love to. Because in my dream of dreams, when I was younger, I wanted to be the point guard for the LA Lakers. I found out in 5th grade that probably wasn't going to happen.
When you stopped growing.
That too, yeah. My talent level, I can shoot the 3, David, but I wasn't gonna.
I'm with you, dude. My dream was to be a point guard for the Knicks. So,
then man, we shared. It's a similar boyhood dream. At that same time, when my dream was ending with the Lakers, I kind of saw David Lee Roth flying off a kick drum on MTV. I go, that looks kind of fun. So I have that in the back of my mind of being something I wanted to do, but I could never tell anybody because I told you earlier I couldn't sing, couldn't write a song, couldn't play an instrument. Small obstacles on the way to a musical career. But
just a little bit.
Luckily, they took a chance with me. We became the band then. We were called the Shrinky Dinks originally, believe it or not. And we actually got signed as the Shrinky Dinks. And I don't know if you remember the Shrinky Dinks were a toy growing up. I think Mattel made them. And what a great idea for kids. You cut up a piece of plastic and you put it in an oven. And then you play with it. The toys were different in the 70s and 80s.
Let it melt. Let this toxic toy melt.
Yes.
But the coloring kept them busy for like 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you had to deal with kids sticking their heads in the ovens and all sorts of things.
Exactly.
And so we got signed to Atlantic Records off the name Shrinky Dinks. After we continued doing what the Tories were doing, we were playing like local parties. And basically we were a cover band, but we got a couple original songs. And my good friend McGee, still my best friend in the world. He does a lot of TV. You may have known him. He directed Charlie's Angels.
Yeah,
yes, great director.
Yeah, you probably both met him before. And he said to us, he was a budding video director back then. He goes, you guys kind of suck. Mark, you can't really sing, but there's a vision, at least my friends are telling me the truth, but there's a visual element here I think I could capture on a video. And in the early 90s, people were still sending cassettes, demo cassettes to A&R people. So we said, that's a good idea. Let's jump off the page a little with the video. McGee made this video. He robbed Peter to pay Paul on his parents' credit cards. And somehow we got this 35 millimeter video that looked like it belonged on MTV. And
Which song? Which song was that? Fly?
It was actually for a song called Caboose, David, that made our first record, Lemonade and Brownies. But we had two original songs. One was called Caboose and one was called Lick Me. We went for the least offensive title.
Okay. Yes, I can understand. Caboose.
Different times.
Different hook. Different hook there. Yes, exactly.
So Atlantic bought it. The president of Atlantic Records, Doug Morris, at the time said, I don't know what this is, but in this era of grunge and all this, these guys are having so much fun. It reminds me why I got into the music business. And Doug Morris is a legendary, iconic figure in the music industry, still is today. And so he kind of just, waved his hand and said, sign these guys. So we got signed out of New York, even though we were an LA band. So our whole career has been the serendipitous, events that we've had no control over. I wish I would say it was the brainchild and all my ideas, but it wasn't. We just got very, very lucky.
So Rodney, it was his band. He was the lead guitarist. You come in, you do flips into the pool to make up for your subpar vocals at the time.
To literally and figuratively make a splash. Yes.
To make a splash.
There you go. Yes.
And then you guys just grew together and you ended up writing a lot of the lyrics, right? I mean, you're one of the songwriters.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the drummer Stan that was in that original Tories band too also became a member of Sugar Ray. And we picked up a guy who was kind of on the peripheral of that whole scene down in Orange County, a guy named Murphy Cargis to play bass. And so that was the core four of Sugar Ray. We stayed together for 23 years. We had a really good run. Then the guys decided, Stan and Murphy decided not to do music anymore. And Rod and I are still in the band. But yeah, Stan, Rodney and I were the major songwriters in the band. I did probably 75% of the lyrics in Sugar Ray, but that's not to say I was exclusively doing the lyrics. And they could come from anywhere. I mean, I made up Someday with the bass, and I'm not even a bass player, but it was just a simple bass line. So I think that was really a huge asset to the band, is that there was no main songwriter. We kind of learned together how to sort of come up with these songs, and we found a producer. I could never undervalue his contributions, David Kahn, who really led us to the promised land and just put a big professional production, a shiny gloss, if you will, on these songs.
Right, but it was a real collaboration. I mean, that's where the best music. I mean, I'm obsessed with the Beatles documentary, so every time I interview a musician, I got to reference that. But it was like all hands on deck, and when you get together and it's a collaboration, I think that's where some of the best work comes from.
I think you're right. And a lot of times, like I'd write verses, like Fly is a perfect example, which was our breakthrough.
Seriously, great song.
Oh, thank you, bro.
I mean, the best. There's no version where that song comes on and people just don't want to jump up and dance, right?
That's such a huge compliment.
It's just so true. It's a happy song. It's just such a good song. I mean, just in the vibe, it's incredible.
It's been thank you, Christine. It's just been so good to us. It's the reason why I'm still performing today, speaking with you guys. That was our first number one, our first real look at MTV, hearing our songs unsolicited on K-Rock, which was the station we grew up in, was the mecca of all radio, gave us our first gold record, platinum record, double platinum record, got Atlantic Records. I started getting calls from Ahmet Erdogan then, once Fly hit, and I'm like, there's levels to this record company stuff. So super grateful for that. But kind of how that song came about is our drummer started writing a bit of a song called Fly. He had a little bit of it, and all honesty, I hated it first because we were coming from like the more aggressive approach, David. Like the sort of Korn, Deftones. We were kind of hanging on that thing. We had a little bit of traction in that area, and I don't know if that's the best idea to throw this song at everybody. And the way it was really presented to me was just the chorus, and it was sung in a falsetto, so it was going like, I just want to fly. And it was like, I was like, oh God, I feel like a little bit of me died. And we were in New York recording this, and it was our last chance. This was Atlantic Records' last chance for giving us any money to do anything. And I called McGee, my best friend. I go, dude, have you heard? I just can't. He goes, dude, what are you going to do? Come home? work the door at Glanville or Granville or whatever the hell you want. What are you going to do?
Right.
He goes, why don't you give it a shot? Just see if you can like create some verses, see what you can do. And I begrudgingly went back, and I'm glad he really inspired me to do that and nudged me that way. So I came up with the verses, all around the world. And so I kind of brought it back, like down to where my voice was going to be. And then it started making sense to me, Then David Kahn got a hold of it. Our producer started adding the really cool little production touches that you hear that really add the gravitas to the song, that really make it a classic. I don't want to be so bold and say that, but the people have spoken,
it is a classic.
That's an understatement.
The lyrics are so aspirational for a guy in his 20s that I just want to fly. Like, I mean, statues around the world crumble for me. Like, when you're young and you romanticize things, you're like, I'm going to go as far as I can. It lifts you up, man. It's a great song.
Thank you, David. And the irony of that is we were at our lowest point lyrically, spiritually. We were in New York. It was the winter. The song was written in the middle of Manhattan in a dingy, studio with like all the chips were down. Our record already came out. It was going to be our last gaffe. So there was not this like hopeful optimism in the song, and there are some dark lyrics in it that are sort of reflective of that period. But when, Stan, our drummer, wrote the chorus and I wrote the verses, and I didn't ask him what he thought it was about. I just wrote my version of what I thought he was talking about.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that universality kind of comes into play because there's a push and pull with the lyrics in there. And I've never asked him what it was about. He's never asked me what it's about. But people have asked me what it's about. And I've told fans of the song, and early when the song came out, it was a hit. People go, Mark, what does the song mean? And I would tell them, and they would break down crying, my interpretation. And they go, because I thought it meant this and about like my mom and stuff. And that's when I stopped saying what the lyrics meant. I stopped doing that because once these songs go out on the air and become a property of the world, meaning they get into the top 10, they get in the top 5, God bless you, get to number 1, it becomes property of the world. And I'm not a big new age guy like that, but I've gone through and I've made the mistakes of not letting people take ownership of these songs because, yes, we wrote them, but you're your songs completely once they're out there.
Yeah, I heard an interview recently with Ed Sheeran who said the same thing. He doesn't like to tell people what the song is about because what it's about for him does not, once it's out in the world, it could be about anything and it does become your own, and it needs to be, it can become your wedding song. It can become the song, it could have a totally different meaning for someone else. And I thought that is so interesting because I do think that the curiosity of the fans and the people who are listening always want to be in the mind of the musician, right? Of, I want to feel what he was feeling. And it's really true that it's going to become your own thing no matter what, once it's out in the world, if it's a moment that you had the best first date or whatever. And that's so beautiful. And it's also part of, how you kind of have to let it go, right? At a certain point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I don't think most songwriters, you kind of become a vessel for a song, like lyrics just start flowing in your head and like melodies start coming in your head. I don't know where it comes from. People ask me how to write a song. I go, I don't know. You start doing it. You have anything in your head? Like, what's the phrase you have in your head? So like sometimes we don't know where the song comes from. I know there's certain points, like some things are about, my then girlfriend is now my wife for sure. They're very literal and stuff. But then you start getting into like, surreal, abstract thoughts that kind of influence your songwriting. So sometimes we don't know what they mean either. But your meaning is just as valid as our meaning.
And that's the beauty of art, right? Is the interpretation of the audience, whether it's a painting or a film or a song. Your song could mean a million different things to a million different people. And I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, bullseye, David, because like I said, there are, two of us involved in writing Fly. I've never asked Stan, the other co-writer, what he was talking about because I didn't have to. I felt it. I felt the vibe, and whatever I felt was valid. Didn't matter if it wasn't what he was feeling, because the music is the emotion, and you're right on bullseye, Dave, when you say that. It's your interpretation. That's what makes art. And I don't like to be precious and call what I do art, but that's what makes, I guess, art is feeling, right? And when you feel something, it's effective, and I think it's it's what makes art special.
And express it creatively, right? When you're expressing it creatively, that's where the subjective nature of it is.
That's exactly right.
Do you call McG on a daily basis and thank him and hug him every day for talking you back into the studio? Like, that's incredible that you were like, no, this is not working at all. I'm not feeling this. And you had a best buddy. It was like, what do you got to lose? Like, go. I mean, that's an amazing story.
It's an incredible story. I mean, I've been best friends with him for 45 years. We've gone on this journey of life together, never mind the career of Sugar Ray. So he knew me better than anybody. And he's been such a wonderful cheerleader, supporter, collaborator. He did all of our videos. He directed all of our videos. You know, I just was with him the other night watching the Lakers play, and he came down and watched us at Beach Life Festival in Redondo Beach last weekend. I mean, you know, I think the thing about life, what I found out, it's about relationships. And when you stack years in relationship, that's the good stuff. And don't get me wrong, material things are nice, money's great, all that's great. But having relationships with people and friendships, man, that's that sweet stuff of life. And I'm so grateful to have a friend like that. There was, you know, Christine, able to tell me the truth, you know, and let me know, like, dude, you're making a big giant mistake. And I was convinced I was coming home. That was it. So he literally made me turn around and figure it out. And we did.
And did you, just because you did go to USC, you have a degree in communications, I'm reading here. From the time you formed the band, were your parents pushing back on you to go into music? And it took you a number of years probably till you made a living, right?
Absolutely. You know, David, a stereotypical, I guess, idea of parents from Newport Beach paying for their son to go to USC would be they weren't supportive of a music career. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. You know, my dad he came from, you know, Waterbury, Connecticut. He went out to LA in the 70s to make his mark. And, you know, he was not a typical Newport Beach guy, to say the least. And I think that had a lot to do with his success down there. But he was always super supportive, but he was not a dreamer like me. He was a finance guy. He did deals between lenders and bankers and developers. So he was a very black and white about what it is and making sure everything worked. And like, he was a numbers guy. So he said, all right, Mark, you want to get into music? That's a little bit of a left turn from what you were doing at USC.
With your $100,000 USC degree.
So he just read the book Hitman, which it was a music industry Bible. It came out like 89.
Oh, about Sony Music, right? Hitman.
Exactly right. Yes. Exactly. And he'd seen I was getting interested in music, and like, it was a wonderful dad, you know, rest his soul. He got involved in my interest and said, Mark, you know, this music thing's a long shot. Hope you know that. But listen, I have done in my research that if you don't get signed by your 25, the likelihood of you getting signed drops by 75 to 80%. You know?
Oh, man, analytics, total numbers guy.
Super analytical and crazy, right? Hey, well, thanks for making that unspun immediately, Dad.
How old were you when you got signed?
I was 24 years and
look at you, dude.
Gosh.
Right under the wire.
All the time, you know. And then, of course, Atlantic gives us a record deal, which is always one-sided to the labels. That's what it is. And I'm not an artist that's going to tell you the labels are the big evil machine. They aren't. Labels, back then, too, they used to sign 20 bands a year. 11 ever released a record, for whatever reason, released a record. So you originally wrote off those 10 that you signed and gave money to. 3 were ever successful. Those are the numbers because my dad told me. but so it's so one-sided they put out so much money to try and like develop and establish those artists that like it's the business is skewed because they're loaning you money. So he looked at the deal and goes, you know, you're really getting screwed on this deal. I go, I know, Dad, but it's institutionalized. It's what it is. He goes, as long as you know you're getting screwed, then go ahead. And I go, Dad, I haven't made a penny. I haven't even sold a record yet. And they're about to give me $300,000, which is a lot, 94, you know? And he goes, well, that's a good point too. And so it was just funny. Everything with my dad was about great, but what about this? But he was just looking out for me always, you know? And there was nobody, including my mom too, was more proud when Fly hit. Because the first record failed, Dave and Christine, you know, there was just a lot of odds stacked against us. And I always say this, getting signed is the easiest part. And that's the hardest part. You know, success is always the second hardest part. The hardest part is staying there. That's the hardest part, you know? So
amen to that.
Well, you know, but it's really crazy how that works. You know, we all try to be Aerosmith, AC/DC, or whatever. We got a little cup of coffee in the big leagues, and then they sent us back down again. But I'm so grateful for my shot then. I like to say we're a band that has legacy songs. We never became a legacy band, and I'm so grateful for that. But David, to get back to your question, the most convoluted answer of all time, they were very, very supportive. Never very realistic, but very supportive, especially my dad.
Amazing parents, man. And I'm sure they must, you know, when your child goes into the arts, you know, Christine's daughter is studying at one of the finest schools. Sure. And, you know, when they do succeed, it has to be so sweet. You know, like, yeah, man. We had faith in our kid up against all the odds, the 75% drop off and all the analytics. And look, my kid did it, you know, and he's still doing it. You both did it.
You both did it too. You know, you beat the odds and, you know, and you know, got the golden ticket. So it's very hard to do. And I can't imagine not having the support of my mom and dad. You know what I mean? I mean, if I didn't, because it was such a backbone that the support was never not there. So I actually feel for those who didn't have the support of their family at home. You know, that must be extremely tough.
Yeah, you need a solid family, or you see like a lot of young artists go off the rails, man. And I, you know, Christina and I have interviewed a lot of guests who have started at a very young age. And I think, Christine, right, like the through line of these people is that they had very solid families,
very supportive families who even as child actors, their parents were looking out for their best interests. I mean, really, I think, and that's not the way it always is. So,
right. And you can quit tomorrow if you want to. Don't do this for me, but I'm here to support you. It's like a fine balance of support, but hands off, let my kid fly, but tell them you don't have to do this. You can, you know, find another career. So can you take us back to like after the first album hit, take us to like, you know, what happened? What was it like to become so recognizable?
Like, how did life change? Like,
yeah. And the tour life.
It was funny. You guys literally, you know, there was an overnight success element. I guess there was an overnight fame. Let's put it that way.
Right. No, we know. Yeah. You paid your dues, dude. Yeah. But that album hit so big and so furiously.
I don't think any of us, including myself, I didn't think Fly would be the song of the summer in '97. There was no way. I felt positive about it. I thought we had a good chance. It just took off. It took off immediately. I remember I could go to the Beverly Center on a Friday, like in May of '97. That Monday, I couldn't go there. And my life, literally my life did change overnight. You know, there's no manual how to do this. You know, navigating celebrities, you both know, is something you can only do once you have celebrity, you know, and then it's all subjective to your own experience. So, you know, you got to learn as it's coming. And, you know, I've made a ton of mistakes and I was smart about some things, stupid about others. Lucky, like you said, I got a good team of management and the label is great behind us that helped me navigate through those murky waters. But it was an exciting time too, because like all your dreams are coming true. Right.
You
know,
right. You can't complain too much about, you know, sudden fame.
There's no complaining at all. It's just surreal. You're asked about like this. It's just bizarre to be just a guy going to Swingers on Beverly one day for breakfast. And then the next day, like, the waitress are treating you a little different. Like, oh, yeah, we got a table. You usually had to wait 30 minutes. You know?
Exactly. Getting the table. That's what everyone always says.
The best part of fame, like big fame, is getting tables at restaurants.
And getting tickets to concerts and shows, right? It's those two. Those are the two biggies.
It's so funny you say that because people ask me like about my celebrity now. And like, it's a very passive, like, oh, there's that guy. You know, I still have the hair and all that. You know, it's part of the showbiz, you know. But and I say the best part, if I walk in a restaurant, they give me a good table. You know, it's fun. They get a table and they treat you better than you deserve to be treated. So my celebrity is an hysteria thing. It's a very comfortable thing. People are a little nicer to me on planes and stuff. It's great. There's nothing to complain about. But, you know, like I did have a little brush in the '99 where it was kind of a little scary there. You know,
I'm sure, dude. At the peak of it, there are some downsides to it and some scary downsides.
Sure, I was on the cover of Rolling Stone, you know what I mean? And with that, cover of the Rolling Stone, you know, and that's, hey.
People Magazine's Sexiest Rocker of '98. How about that title?
I don't want to brag.
That is bragging rights.
Right? But, you know, it is surreal when you're walking through an airport and you look in the the gift shop there, and you see yourself on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. And I felt like I went to like Six Flags and made those fake Time magazine man ear things. My friends were putting it in there, like trying to like, you know, punk me or something. But yeah, it was just all super surreal, super fun. I'd like to say I didn't want to take myself out of that gigantic fame. It was fun, you know, and selling records is really super fun. But yeah, I had a very comfortable coming back down period. You know, I made a lot of mistakes. I drank too much. I did stupid things. You know, there was a long leash to hang myself out there in the rock and roll world. You know, you show up to work, there's 2 cases of beer, 2 bottles of Jameson, 2 bottles of vodka, and I don't want to be rude. You know what I mean? I
mean, someone purchased this, right?
And someone has to drink it, right?
Come on, David. You know, so there is a learning curve of how you tour. You know, first couple nights you're out there like, let's party. And then you're like, oh my God, we've got 4 more months.
Right. Unsustainable.
Right. Not everybody figures that out. You know, by the grace of God, you know, we did as a band because we just, our success happened a little later. You know, I was 27 when Fly hit. You know, that's super old in the world of the record industry. So I'd seen bands come up the hill and come flying down a year and a half later, and that terrified me more than anything did. Like to have, you know, to get the golden ring on the merry-go-round, and then to have to give it back a year and a half later. You just got up there. You know, you hadn't even finished decorating the guest bedroom yet, and you're coming back down Lookout Mountain. You know, that terrified me. So that also motivated me to go, this is very special. Don't you blow this. Now, I tried hard to blow it, but I always had good people that pulled me back to just give Sugar Ray the best shot we could get. And we got a great shot. We sold 10 million records, you know, 2 number 1s, 4 top 10s, 6 top 40s, but who's counting? It's not important, you know.
But your follow-up album debuted at number 1 also, right? Like you kept it going.
We did. And the funny thing is after the success of Floored, which had Fly on it, and Fly was the anomaly on that record. It was the only song that sounded like Fly. Everything else was kind of harder and grungier and more rap rocky, if you will, because that's kind of the lane that we found ourselves in with the first record, you know. Then we stumbled upon this Fly song and put it in on the record because it sounded so great. But because of the success of that record off one song, critics were quick to go, oh, thanks for playing one-hit wonders. You know, the one-hit wonder cruise ship's over here with Kajagoogoo and Chumbawamba and all your friends, you know.
And you must have had some doubt in your mind. Are we one-hit wonders, right? Like,
of course.
You got to prove yourself.
Dave, the song came out of nowhere. I mean, I was still enjoying the fruits of having this one song, and 8 months later, they're like, thanks for playing. You're off the charts. Goodbye. And I'm like, but I want to go into the whiskey bar. So we went back to write the third record, and we're writing it, and I go, some of these songs are pretty decent. Yeah, we had 80% of Every Morning done, a lot of Someday done, Falls Apart, which was another number 1 song at Alternative.
When It's Over is a great song too.
Yeah, When It's Over came on the record after the record I'm talking about. But,
okay, sorry.
But it's very much in that vein of songwriting, David, for sure. But what I want to say about this record I'm talking about, The Floored, is that no one was more aware of the precarious position we were in the music industry than us. I've always been super self-effacing about me, the band, everything, much to the band's chagrin, almost too much, you know. It's kind of how I lead with it. It's my self-defense mechanisms. It's all my insecurities.
Humility is a great quality to have.
I think so.
The opposite is arrogance.
Yeah, that sucks, believe me. And I would have no basis to be arrogant about anything. But so saying that way, I was thinking, what's the title of this record going to be? You know, it's got to be something that, you know, we got to do something with this record title, let people know what we're going to do. So I was over at Chandara on Cahuenga there in Hollywood Boulevard.
I remember,
Chandara.
Yes. I love these references, Chandara. Yes.
Best Thai food ever. And we were recording the record at a place called Swing House across the street from Chandara. And I'm in there going, what are we going to call this record? Oh my God. And I thought about Andy Warhol's Everybody Has Their 15 Minutes of Fame in the Future. That was his quote he had. And I go, oh my God, 14 minutes and 59 seconds is going to be the title of this record, because we'll just let everybody know we've got 1 more second of fame left with this record. And if it doesn't work, Right. But if it doesn't work, it's the best title ever. And if it doesn't work, who cares? It's the best title ever.
It's the best title ever.
So thankfully, 1459 ended up selling 3 million copies, 1 million more than Floor did, and really let people know, oh, God, Sugar Ray's going to be around for a little bit. You know, no, we're going to have to keep frosting our tips. What a
Buckle in. They're here to stay.
Oh. And that was the record, you guys. I said, okay, this looks like it will be a career. You know, there's just, you know, Every Morning was #1. Someday was #3. Falls Apart was #1 on alternative radio. And back then, these songs were going to all the genres of radio because that's what happened there. They started alternative radio, the K-Rocks of the world. Every Morning went to #1. Then it went to pop. You know, the Kiss FMs of the world went to #1. Then we'd go to Coast. And like, you know, the AC, the soft rock places, and it went to #1 there. So we were getting just multiple spins for months and months and months of Every Morning and Sunday. So it really was like really integrated into the radio and people's transiums, if you will, back then. And so I went, we might be around for a while. We got to open for the Rolling Stones on the touring cycle of that record. I mean,
my God. Are you
what
serious?
was that? What was that like? Was that the moment where it's like, holy crap, like, how are we here? How are we?
Yes, Christine, it was all that. And I think the Rolling Stones audience also said, holy crap, what are these guys doing?
Might not be the same crossover, but
not the same holy crap.
What an experience.
But you know, it's funny just because you're kind of talking about stopping and smelling the flowers and going, oh my God, does it get any better than this? Well, we were opening for the Rolling Stones in Las Vegas. I believe it was in April of '99. And, you know, it was towards the end of the set and we played Fly. So the audience was, they were kind. They were warming up to this, and they could kind of see they let these puppies on stage. They were just so excited to be there. kind of endearing to the audience. And then I go, hey, guys, I just want to say thanks so much for putting up with Sugar Ray. It's truly been a dream come true. I don't know how anything get better than this moment right now for me personally, but I just want to say Every Morning is #1 this week on the Hot 100. So opening for the Stones, having a #1 song, it can't get any better than this. Thank you so much for having us. And I look over the monitor world, and Mick and Keith are staring at us, watching us play, and I go, "Oh my! Wait a minute! It just got a little bit better." They're watching us right there, and I said to myself, "This might be the best point of your career. Might be the highlight. I don't know. I can get better." And I got to enjoy every second of that because I was so cognizant of the moment. Now things got close, but they never got better to that moment. So that was just. That was the all-time moment of my career for sure. Opening for the Stones, '1 song, and Mick and Keith watching, you know.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, I feel like I was there with you. My 90s self is so proud of you for following up that first album, proving everyone you're not a one-hit wonder, and, you know, making moments like that. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was a dream come true. Our parents were there. All our friends were there. They come all out from Newport Beach. And, you know, I was calling members of my second grade soccer team, AYSO soccer team, going, hey, what are you up to, dude? Nothing, bro. Just opening for the Stones tonight. Everybody had to know. It was so cool. I mean, it's like Spicoli. And we're going to open for the Stones, bro.
We're going to head over and jam with the Stones.
Exactly.
I like your tie, dude. That's amazing, man. And you seem like you really, I with all the, I'm sure, the booze and the drugs and the girls, everything, you know, throwing at you. If you wanted to indulge, you might not be here, or you might be a very
indulge. I'm not going to say I didn't.
I mean, you seem like you stayed your true self. You're like, you can't believe you're opening for the Stones. It never got to your head. It seems like, from what you're telling me, your boys were still your boys that you grew up with.
But David, I'm also super realistic about my talent level. You know, my talent level was never to have a #1 song, be opening for the Stones. That was never that wasn't the skill set I was given. So I'm not really dissing myself. I'm big upping myself. I should be, anybody out there with a weird dream in the back of your head that won't go away, don't let it go away. You know what I mean? Because like I said, and I've said it 3 times. I'll say it again. I had 3 things going against me in the music business. Couldn't sing, couldn't play an instrument, couldn't write a song. So
those are 3 big ones.
mid-level guy from Newport Beach to make it happen. How could I ever be arrogant or flippant about the success of this band? Now, I was a small part of it. I was a cog in the machine. It wasn't all about me. There was other folks involved in writing the songs. Our producer, David Kahn, was a gigantic part of it. We talked about McGee. Atlantic Records, with their the way they dealt with us was amazing. I had the best experience with them. We had publishing companies that were working for us. So it was it took a village to make this thing successful. So I didn't want to rip it down myself. I thought it would be, I had a responsibility to other people around me, you know? But we definitely had fun, man. I'm not going to say we did not, bro. You know what I mean? That's what we started the band for, you know?
Right. But you kept a level head, it seems like.
Tried to, Dave. Tried to.
And that comes from your family, I think. I mean, you know, your parents sound like they really gave you a good foundation.
There was always a moral compass clicking in the back of my head. It always brought me back. And thankfully, like, I was never a guy to wake up and have a drink or anything like that. It never appealed to me. You know what I mean? But I like to have fun. And when it wasn't time to have fun, it was time to work, you know?
So you had a communications degree, and then let's talk about the flip to hosting. You know, you ended up
next chapter.
Don't
try to tie that degree into hosting. There was no correlation at all.
What do you mean? You're communicating to a wide audience on TV.
You know, David, I tried to do business at USC. Full disclosure, okay? I was taking the easiest math class. I think it was Math 117 at USC at the time. It was like a early calculus class. I failed it so miserably that I remember the professor came up to me and goes, Mark, if you change your major, I'll give you a C-. You're getting an F. And my dad, a numbers guy, wanted me to maintain a 3.0. I wasn't going to pay for it, which is a fair deal, right?
Yeah.
Had I got that F, I would have gotten a 2.4, and my dad would have yanked me out. He was a man of his word. The guy gave me a C-, and I got a 3.01, just enough to let me do the next semester. And that was my first semester, my freshman year. And I go, what am I going to do now? What's going to be my major? I look around. It was all the football players. Rodney Peete was over there.
Oh, my gosh.
I think I'll take that one. So that's how I became a communications major by default. Though, I will say this. I know now it's a very different scholarship, very different discipline at USC, and communication is amazing now. A little different back then, and I wouldn't be able to get USC now with the grades I had back then, but that's another story. So we did sort of get into this extra thing. Now, in 2003, our record, In the Pursuit of Elijah, did not necessarily set the world on fire. And let's say the beginning of the end was starting for Sugar Ray. And bands in our fraternity like Smash Mouth, Third Eye Blind, Everclear, Gin Blossoms, we were falling out of favor in radio for the next cycle of people to do it. We've been there about 5 years. That's a long time. You know?
As things happen that way, the cycle, people are churning them out, right? So,
exactly right. No one wants to listen to their older brothers or older sisters' music when it becomes their turn to listen to their music. Yeah. So the bands like The Strokes and Interpol were coming in, the Vines, and taking any radio space had for us. So after the touring cycle within the Pursuit of Leisure, it was about 2003, late 2003, I had a couple calls to return. Some of the guys in our band were having kids, and they wanted to, watch their kids grow and just take a little break. I go, sure. Well, what the hell am I going to do? So Extra had called a lady named Lisa G. I don't know if that rings bells for anybody, but she's well known in that world, entertainment news world.
She related to Mick G?
No.
A different G?
I held back on that one. I was going to go for it, but I didn't go for it, and David went for it.
You guys have a long years of thinking alike, you two.
Yes, we do.
Cheap shot.
So she reached out and just made a call and said, would Mark be willing to come audition for a hosting job? She called my manager at the time. And my manager knows I would never go for an audition in my life. It's just I can't outside. I don't know.
Smart.
So he goes, hey, Mark, would you like to take a meeting with the people at Extra? I go, sure, why not? Hey, I'll showbiz them a little. Who cares? And I go down and take a meeting, and I'm talking, and I still don't know what's happening. I'm super loose, and I'm at my best, like, wittiness, which is very hard to do. And so I was just super comfortable. I'm like, relaxed. I'm like, well, hey, what's this? And so I was talking to Lisa G. I did a little bit of interview. They basically bamboozled me, got me on the stage. And I remember Jason Momoa was this like stunt guest guy they had who was on like Baywatch Nights or North Shore or something there. And they didn't even know if they were going to use on extra, but they wanted to use him to see if I could, in my audition that I didn't know was an audition.
I was going to say you were bamboozled into an audition without realizing you were in an audition, right?
The only way they would have got him to audition.
In a million years, David, they go, do you want to see the stage? I go, sure. They threw me the mic. I was doing like Sammy Davis things with the mic. I go, hey, oh, look out. The Star in Hollywood last night. Let's take a look. And they bring Jason Momoa out, and he's in like one of those Hawaiian grass skirts. You know what I mean?
My God.
He was just doing his thing. And I'm like, what? That's so surreal. And I go, hey, dude, you free balling under there? And I was on one, you know. And then I went, hey, thanks, guys. Threw the mic and left. That was my meeting.
You dropped the mic.
Right. Threw the mic.
I'm done.
Mic drop. And so I get a call back 3 hours later. Hey, would Mark be interested in co-hosting Extra? You know, and I'm like, what does that even mean? They go, well, you have to show up 5 days a week. I go, 5 days a week. It's a real job with a commute and all that. So they threw me a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. That sweetened it up a little bit. But I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I've never been afraid to fail in front of people, and this was no exception. Coming from the world of music, you know, you want to hit the back row, and there's a lot of gesticulations and big movements, right? You guys know better than I do about TV and film. It's smaller, you know. Yeah. It's reserved. I mean, Clint Eastwood made a career of raising his eyebrow. You know, it's subtle. I had no subtleties when I went to Extra, so I had to learn in front of people. And that was
the producers kept telling you to pull it back a little bit, like
they go, that was great, but
bring it down a little bit.
You know?
You're not playing to 50,000.
Exactly, Dave. I remember my big struggles. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I was like holding them like this and doing like the V thing, and then I'd be like, "Hey guys, welcome." I didn't know
I get it.
You know what I mean? And everything is so just blown up because you're on TV. I could see if I had a big weekend, like where salt in my chin. I was just like, you guys know, it's just such a gnarly business. But they were super cool to me. They helped me. They really wanted me to be there, and I credit Extra, and it was super fun to do. I met some of the smartest people in my life on that show, because I'll tell you why. You show up at 6 a.m, there's no show. And they put one together, and the constantly moving segments and blocks and all that and stuff that's beyond my pay grade or skill set. But man, they really were patient with me, and I basically figured out how to do it and slowly learned how to do it. I remember this was kind of a benchmark for me at Extra. It was about 6 months in my tenure there. I was getting a coffee at 7-Eleven at about 6 a.m. And I saw this kind of like gnarly, shady dude, like neck tattoos, which was kind of scary in 2004. Getting a coffee, and it looked like he'd been up all night. You know what I mean? I go, oh God, here we go. And he comes up to me, he goes, hey, Mark. I go, hey, bro, what's up? And he goes, hey, dude, you sucked when you started Extra, but you're getting better, man.
Stop it. No.
The backhanded compliment.
Biggest backhand compliment of all time. So I ended up doing that. You guys, about 4 years. Now, I never quit the band during that time. The band never stopped playing. We still did about 30, 40 shows a year. We just didn't do the band record tour cycle because music's always going to be my first love, and I love to perform. We released the greatest hits record during that time. But, it was the right thing to do to kind of pivot out of music and have that be my primary focus because I love my time there. I love my co-host, Dana Devin. She was amazing. But it wasn't
your passion, your love, yes.
And I remember particularly a night when that happened to me, when a little bit of my soul died, if you will. We went out to interview Al Pacino, and he was doing a play out in Pasadena, okay? Like Othello or something in a million years. We're not going to cover his making Othello and all. We're entertainment news. We're Britney, Paris, Lindsay. That's what we were, especially back then.
Early 2000s. Yep, exactly.
Christine, exactly. So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm asking him 20 things about Othello, how he gets involved, how you decide about how's your theater. And I know things, but Brittany and Kevin had just broken up. Okay. Now, in the back of my mind, I know I've got to ask this question to Al Pacino.
No.
Oh, no.
So I'm going, yeah, so what about Othello? Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
Great, Othello's so cool. You did such a good job. Hey, Al, I got to ask, because, it's kind of what we do here. What do you think about Brittany and Kevin breaking up? And he looks at me and goes, you're better than that. And walked away.
Oh, my God. He called you out on it. Oh, Jesus.
He died a little bit. And I go, I can't. And by the way, I knew why they did that, because on the opening of the extra the next night, it was like, and hear what Al Pacino says about Kevin and Brittany breaking up. Hey, Al, what do you think about Kevin and Brittany breaking up? They cut it. And then when they show the package, they go, well, Al was a little bit shy to say what he really feels, but we'll find it. They just wrap it up and just want to get that little second soundbite.
Soundbite, yeah.
The earliest clickbait, right? Exactly,
Christine. And by the way, that's part of the show. That's what they do. It just wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But I really enjoyed my time there at Extra. I'm grateful for it all. And it gave me a set of tools called hosting, which I still use today,
You have your own show on Sirius XM, right?
Yeah, I have a radio show that I do on weekends. And what I want to do at Sirius XM in the 90s on 9, that's the channel I'm on. Makes sense, right? I want to have a live show on Sirius XM. This is what I'm hopefully going to do next. So when there's big news in the world of the 90s, or God forbid someone passes away, we also have a home base, a nest, if you will, to talk about, to commiserate, to remember, have memories with. So that's the next thing I'm working on. Hopefully we'll get that on Sirius XM pretty soon. But I travel a lot, so it's kind of hard to coordinate schedules, but keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. 90s on 9.
You're such a natural. I respect, obviously now we're getting the version of you that has, that extra trained, but you are such a natural storyteller. And I know it's different performing for, stadiums of 50,000 people. But, what I love is your honesty about, you need a certain personality to be able to ask those questions to, performers that you respect, that you know what I mean? And when you reach that limit, because, I'm sure it was a nice gig to have. But you said it wasn't your true love. And so that really struck me, because I think we all have been victims of those questions.
Sure.
On a red carpet, where has nothing to do with the event you're at or what you're even there talking about. And then you're just sort of thrown this question about people you may not even know, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. But for Al,
you're better than that.
As you were telling the story,
Who's Brittany?
I was sweating for you. I was just sweating for you.
We've all cringed at things we've been asked to do in this business. We've all cringed.
It was just the wrong guy to ask. And you know what? Well, but I really admire those who do that, and they're really great at their jobs. I wasn't that good at it either. I should have made him feel comfortable asking the question. But what really made me admire people, Christine, I've interviewed Ben and stuff like that, is people that play the game. They know, this isn't a question I wrote by myself. You know what I mean? Just play along. Just show with me a little. And
of course.
The quicker you get it done, the quicker it's going to be over.
You guys, do you remember, it circulated recently, the Jeff Goldblum reaction to when someone asked him about the Sony and Marvel franchise? Oh my God, you got to look it up.
He's a serious thespian.
My daughter, who's, in her just finishing up her 3rd year at Juilliard, is a trained actor, and she has every line of this Jeff Goldblum response memorized that she performs for us at the drop of a hat. Look it up, David. But it's really Jeff Goldblum playing along on a red carpet of somebody asking him a question about, what do you think about the Sony and Marvel franchise? And you just see Jeff Goldblum start, no, it's the first I've heard of it. And they there's an edit of it, and he's like, oh, I'm crestfallen. It is brilliant.
He's an acting teacher. He's a true,
but he's a sport. Like what you said, he's there, he's doing an interview for whatever it was, Access or Extra or ET, whatever it was, he just went along with it. So you get
Extra, Mark, was it you? Did you ask him?
It wasn't me.
Okay, thank goodness.
He had long retired. Mark had long retired from his hosting days. But yeah, that's amazing.
I think you're right. You're saying make a moment of it, embrace it. We all know it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
We don't all have to take it too seriously all the time in this business, right?
Let's talk about your touring dates this summer. So you got, where are you playing and how many dates, and who is it? The whole band back together, or you and Rodney, or what?
Yeah, I'm doing two. Rodney's always been the band. So there's two original members left, myself and Rodney. We this is who we are. It's what we do. And I'm thankful for the moment. The other two original guys, they've left music. They don't play music professionally anymore. So, they're doing what they want to do, and God bless. But this summer, you can check out my website, markmcgrath.com. I'm going to be on the road with Mr. Brett Michaels, if you will.
Sweet.
Sick.
Yeah. So we're playing some big sheds. And, Brett went out with his band Poison last year on that Motley Crue Def Leppard tour, which was a gigantic success. So Live Nation said, hey, Brett, why don't you do your own show? He was kind enough to ask me to be a part of it. So I'm going to do about 4 or 5 songs with his band. And then we have Night Ranger opening, and Jefferson Starship is playing.
Oh, so cool.
Right. And then in September and August, mid-August, we're going out with the Gin Blossoms. Sugar Ray will be going out with the Gin Blossoms, Tonic, and Fastball to do about 3 weeks, and pretty much on the East Coast, a little bit of the Midwest as well. So what I think is cool is that, like, I've had such a diverse, varied career. I'm able to go out with Brett Michaels, like these 80s metal rock dudes.
And the Gin Blossoms.
My God.
Right? And then dip into my little 90s over here when it's time. So I don't know. I just feel super grateful that I always say I have 4 songs, we'll travel. Acapella, my band, your band, to tracks, the bongos, however you want to hear these songs, I'm happy to deliver them,
What a great attitude,
Fantastic.
man.
I know. You just have, it feels like you're just loving it all. And I really, it's infectious. And I think, even David and I, when we started this together, it was like, I was like at that period, you talked about friendships and the people that you've known and that you've, it's like David and I, we have so much history and staying connected to those people that you love and just sort of like having fun, I feel like that's what you and I are doing this, David, right? And we get to meet great people like you and hear your story. So we can't thank you enough for coming on. I feel like those concerts this summer, sounds like a dream for me. Like those are all my songs of my era.
You're all welcome, anyone. I'll get you backstage, man. We'll show you how we do it. But we'd be honored to have you both. And I got to say, I was truly honored to be asked to be part of the podcast. You both are wonderful. I felt very welcomed and great questions. Thanks for caring. Thanks for the smile on my face. Just super grateful for the time.
Thank you so much, man. We've been fans of yours for a very long time, and keep up the great work. And thank you for being with us.
Yeah. Have the best summer.
Thank you, Christine. Take care, David.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Woo-hoo.
How much fun is he?
Seriously, talk about someone who's just optimistic and positive and enjoying life wherever it takes him.
Yes.
It's a good, just a good guy.
I want to listen to his serious show too, but he's such a natural, he is such a natural host. He's so charismatic.
He's charismatic. He's likable. He's innately and if you're going to host Extra or ET or what does Mario host? What is
Mario's Access? Access
right, like Mario too. Just a likable guy. You look at him, you want to hear him talk. You want to spend an hour with him.
Yes. Even though Al Pacino says he's better than that.
You're better than that.
What a great story.
That's when he quit the show. That's a great story. All right. Well, another great interview. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed Mark McGrath. And we should go see a show of his this summer,
we
right?
We really should. When he was giving the lineup, that sounds like so much fun. We should.
He's probably so great live. I've never seen them live, but
and he'll hook us up. He'll give us backstage passes. So we got to do it.
Yeah, he says that now.
Exactly.
He's like, David and Christine, who? No, don't let them back. I don't know any David and Christine.
Oh, goodness. All right. It was great having everybody. It's good to see you, David. We'll see you next week. Another great guest coming up. And thanks for listening.
Have a great week, everybody. You too, Christine.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe and give us 5 stars.
And please follow us on Instagram at HeyDudeThe90sCalled. See you next time.